Talking about carnage, I had myself on mute. Welcome. Thanks, Des. Had myself on mute. Absolute carnage here at the Circus of Safety. Welcome to our listeners. Now, I'll tell you what, talk about cool, calm, and collected under pressure. We had a few technical issues with our software before going live, but in the studio, live with me, I've got none other than Andy Evans. Hey, where are you, Des? Oh, awkward. Did we not invite him?
He can't get the invite.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Ouch. Yeah.
Sorry, Des.
Ouch.
Sorry. Hey,
I'm alone. For what it's worth, I'm alone.
How are you this morning, Des?
Good. I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
Oh, mate, tickety-boo, thank you. Tickety-boo. Andy was homeless and looking for an office before he headed off to his meeting in town. So thought I'd share my office space with him. This could get a little bit interesting with the double echo. Andy, how are you, mate?
There you go.
This is going great. Everyone's on mute. We're getting feedback. Can't hear a thing. Brent's on mute. Andy's on mute. Lovely.
Okay. We're back.
Very professional outfit here.
It worked all right.
Oh, it was working great before we actually went live. So this is a bit awkward, but that's okay. Welcome, Des. How are you, mate?
I'm doing all right. Feeling a bit tired. It's been a busy week. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, I guess we're just having a bit of a chat offline. I think I've hit my my presentation record, and I think I've hit the maximum I should be doing a week. I've had a couple of big weeks. Did an international presentation for InchPo on coaching and mentoring Tuesday. I had my right track graduation last night and did a webinar with the NZICM Governance Forum. I think you might have been in there, Des. It'd be interesting to get your feedback.
It was very good.
Maybe not live in case it's not positive. And then I can do what I want with it. Whereas if you tell everybody live how bad it was, then I got no other option but to fix it. Yeah, Andy, what about you, mate? What are you up to?
Good. Just hanging out with my mate Brenton. Mate, you make a lovely coffee.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did a webinar this week with Sign on Site.
It was good, wasn't it?
Well, it was. Yeah, it was entertaining. It meandered.
The end. That's one way to describe it. But hey, there's I mate Alex from Sign on Site, right? She's normally pretty on point. Like she's really great at making conversations flow, and she's she's a great orator. Is that the word, orator?
Yeah, good one.
Yeah. And a great facilitator of things like webinars. But I think even she was perplexed by Andy's comments. I woke up 40 minutes in and was like, where the hell am I? What's going on? In fact, it's a bit embarrassing in the office. Apparently, I got a bit of a snore on. But I felt for Alex. I don't know if she's going to want to be our friend anymore, Des. We might need to do some damage control in that space.
Damn, I was in international waters at the time, so I didn't get access to it. I'll have to catch up on it. Maybe tonight to help me get to sleep.
Yeah, so yeah, mate, it is definitely great at getting you sleep. Hey, so Andy, have you had much work on this week, mate? What's your sob story for the week?
No sob story for the week apart from I'm working tomorrow. I'm working on a Saturday.
Oh wow!
Face to face, I'm working down in the Central North Island with the forestry crew tomorrow morning.
I'll tell you what,
driving down to O'Kearney this afternoon.
It just never ends for a safety consultant, does it?
But I took Monday and Tuesday off just to make up for it. To recover.
A bit of advice, mate. Put an out of office on, so when I'm sending you emails about the show and production, at least I know you're not working. Hey, mate, talking about that, how is young Oliver?
He's good. He's he's back at school. They had the EOTC week, I think it's sort of
Yes.
spoke about. It all went off reasonably well. There was only a couple of minor incidents, and he's thoroughly investigated them both. And he found out that the root cause was human error. So there's something in common with the sinking of the New Zealand Navy ship.
I mean, I've got to be fair. I like the human error aspect of things because you just blame somebody, right? It's phenomenal, and then what you can do is you can wrap it up in a nice package, so that we don't hurt people's feelings, and we can call it human error. Yeah, really cool.
I think there's the same person was involved in two of the incidents. So I'm thinking maybe sort of reintroducing the accident proneness theory that went out of fashion a number of years ago. But maybe some people are just more accident prone than others.
Things like bell bottoms and stuff, they've always made a comeback. So why not safety theories?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, I tell you what, it's quite good actually. Lead up to Christmas. I know you got one show left, I think it is. And that'll be our Christmas extravaganza. I'm making it sound like it's something we're planning and organising. We're not. It's probably just going to be a normal show. Although I'm hoping Des gets the goodies. I'm hoping finally. I think we're down to 4 topics on the wheel, 3 of which are Des's. What are the odds of it landing on his topic today?
I'm not getting my hopes up at all. I think I'm still going to miss out, even now.
But one thing we haven't discussed, and maybe we need to we've got a whole bunch of topics lining up for next year, which will get added to the wheel. There's, listen, do we need to just kind of roll this wheel out? Finally, you land on one of your topics.
Just force it
before we add new ones on.
Yep, I think that might be the way to go.
Or maybe next week we just let you choose a topic. How does that sound?
It wouldn't feel quite as genuine or as legitimate, I don't think, if I just chose a topic now. I say we roll with it.
All right, we roll with it.
Exhaust these topics and do it.
Cool. Well, hey, listen, before we get into it, did you want to hit us with a disclaimer or something?
Yeah, well, look, in keeping with the Circus of Safety's holiday spirit, lovingly, I'm going to do the disclaimer, lovingly wrapped like a re-gifted fruitcake. This podcast is full of our insights, lessons, and a few things we probably should leave in 2024. Just remember, we're here for laughs and learning, not lawsuits. If you're running into your next board meeting yelling, "The podcast told me to," you've missed the plot. And probably a toolbox talk. So grab your safety goggles and enjoy the ride, and no, listening to us doesn't count as CPD unless your boss is really chill. Cheers to surviving another year of chaos and compliance.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful, Des.
That is awesome, mate. Love it.
Send us that. I'll get that put on some T-shirts.
Do you think we could get some Christmas, Christmas jumpers made?
Yeah, probably could actually.
For the web store.
That would make a mean Christmas jumper. That would be awesome.
Talk about jumpers. How's merch sales going, mate?
I don't know. I haven't kept abreast of it really this week.
I think we need to find somebody else.
I think we've sold something.
You think we've sold something? Oh yeah.
Some money's gone off the credit card, so someone's bought something.
Someone's having a Merry Christmas. Is what you're saying? At least one person.
Yeah, and it's definitely not one of us. Okay, so here we go. Let's bring up the wheel and let's get into the same. There we go. 4 topics left. What could it be? You ready, Des?
Oh, man.
Yeah, just hit me. Come on.
Has academia... I didn't put this on the wheel. This is not mine. This is not mine.
I thought it was Andy's.
No.
This is not. Des has got his head in his hands.
No. That's not mine.
You're claiming ignorance.
It's not mine.
And now you're all throwing me under the bus here.
Surprise. You were probably angry because somebody had a qualification. And you put it on the wheel.
Or somebody used a big word.
It feels like an angry topic. It really does, Brent.
Like, does this kind of face look like he's a kind of angry sort of guy? Okay. Well, let's get into it. Des, jumping over to you first, mate. Has academia taken over safety? Off the bat, first kind of things that come to mind with that question. I mean, it's a question, really. So what do you think?
I think off the bat, the answer is probably no, but it has gained a lot of traction seemingly in the last 10 years or so, with a lot of professionals turning to academia and academic articles and citing, studies to support what they're doing, which is a positive thing. I think some people take it a bit too far, though.
Okay, fair enough. Andy, I mean, this is going to be a fascinating conversation. Your thoughts? Has academia taken over safety?
I don't think it's taken over safety. Far from it. I think it's people use it to give legitimacy to things. But what I don't know what does academic safety look like?
Oh God, here we go.
What actually is it? What is academic safety? Is it wearing a high vis when you're at uni? I mean, what is it?
I just want to say we're never doing this again because I've got the sudden urge to want to punch you in the face, and I don't know if I'm allowed to on air. So if my camera suddenly goes off air like that, say for example, don't panic.
Get up!
I'm just gonna deal to him a couple of punches. So what do you mean? I'll entertain you for a couple of minutes.
So, taking over is a very strong phrase. So I think Des was quite correct in saying that there's been an increase in research linked to safety, but in the absence of a definition of what safety is, it's difficult to say. It's difficult to say that it has. I think that there we go. Thank you very much.
There's mate, shall we hold auditions for a third person next year? Mate,
we could replace Andy with a dictionary, and that's all the definitions we need.
Exactly. We don't.
Mate, happy French dictionaries, though. Remember, English language just reflects the use, doesn't define the use.
So, what value are you actually adding to the show, Andy? I mean, all you're doing is regurgitating a dictionary. Like, what are your initial thoughts? Has academia taken over safety?
No, it hasn't.
Oh, so he goes from rabbiting on about some kind of highfalutin definition, and then you give me a 2-sentence answer.
No, it hasn't, because if it had taken over that, then instead of walking around with high-vis vests and reading SOPs, people would be walking around reading academic articles.
Okay, fair enough. No.
And I think academia is actually on the decline, to be perfectly honest with you, in many spheres, because I don't think many people read anymore.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I've got a note here, and one of the things that popped up into my mind, and I don't know if I'm going to go down this road, but we'll come back to that a little bit. Andy, sticking with you, I guess in the group of us, you're probably the one that considers yourself you're the one that does most of the training here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want a definition, right? I don't want a definition. But when we start thinking about academia and safety, I mean, in your mind, what are we actually talking about here? I mean, I've written a blog post. Is that academia?
No.
When we talk about academia and safety, what do you think we're actually referring to?
I would say it's research, academic articles, which
Yes.
are quite clearly defined, structured in a certain way, referenced in a certain way. There's certain requirements that come to that as a standard.
Okay.
And I think people don't read them. And there's a number of reasons for that. In theory, everything's more accessible than it used to be because of the internet. But there's fees involved. I mean, to buy some articles, it costs you $50, $70, $100.
What? To buy an academic article?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you
so
mad?
It's always useful to have a friend that's enrolled on a course at university, so you can access them through their library website. But it's if you're buying them as individual articles, they can be very expensive. There are ways around that. And often, if you approach the author or send an email to the author, they will provide you with a copy for free. So that's happened a few times. But I don't think it's taken over safety. But I don't think people, if you surveyed most safety professionals, I would suggest that they would read very few academic safety articles.
Okay, hold that thought for a minute. I'm going to kind of come back to you on that. Des, over to you, mate. Listen, when you hear the word academia and safety, I mean, where are you landing? What are you thinking that this is? Are you on the same page as Andy?
I think I am. There's a particular standard that academic writing has to meet, And there's some sources out there that masquerade as academic writing and they're not, and it's very easy to deceive people about the legitimacy of a particular article. There's also even something that's been peer reviewed and researched and looks legitimate in all respects might just be a poor standard of research, or just a poor what's the word I'm looking for? Poor breadth of study. Like it's a very narrow study and with few participants, so that the weight that you can give to it is a lot less than what you would like. But then you can cherry pick sentences out of it that, without their context, can mean something different or paint a picture in someone's mind that it meant more than it really did. And so a significant part of reading academic articles is understanding the depth and breadth of the study and how much weight you should give to the article based on that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I mean, it's almost like we're kind of. I think maybe it's time to break up the band, because you start talking, I start writing notes, you start touching on the note that I've written down. It's almost like we're kind of thinking too similarly, and maybe this could be the end of the show, because we can't be agreeing with each other this whole time, right? But no, that's a fascinating question, and I kind of want to touch on something, and I guess so, and I'm going to come back to that. I just got to make another note. So it's just I've got to be fair, for something called academia and safety, for somebody that wouldn't consider myself an academic, consider myself an applier of academia.
A pracademic.
A pracademic. Nice. There we go. We've just invented a new word for the Circus Safety Dictionary. How's that going, by the way?
Yep. We're still
as
working
good as our merch sales.
We're still working on the first entry, which is safety.
Oh, here we go.
486 words defining what safety means.
is where you're stuck. Okay. Maybe there's sometimes we just need to sort of move on. Question for you, sticking with you, Des, in terms of these academic articles and stuff, I mean, who writes them? I mean, when you're thinking about academic article, if you want to, you talked about legitimacy a minute ago. You talked about, making sure that people are masquerading and going, oh yeah, I wrote an academic paper on this. From your, I mean, you've done a fair bit of study, right? And I mean, how do you know who's writing these articles? How do you know whether it's an academic article? How do we? I don't want to waste my time. I mean, I don't like reading to start. So how do I not waste my time and go, oh, I've just spent 3 days of my life reading an article that actually wasn't an academic article versus, you know what I mean? Like, so how do we? Who are these people that are writing these academic articles, and how do we validate legitimacy in your mind?
Well, to the best of my understanding, that it's not a clear line between what's legitimate and what's not legitimate, and that it's actually quite loose. So you've got a number of sort of well-known, well-respected publications out there that have ethical peer review standards and all sorts of different things that you've got to meet, and they're held in pretty high regard by most people, and that's a pretty good indicator. And then, so if you're looking at something that's not published on one of those well-respected journals, please don't ask me to name them. Then you might have to delve a bit deeper into, whether it meets all those standards that you're looking for. Having said that, though, something that's not published in the journal or not even published to meet an academic standard, that doesn't mean it's false or untrue. There might still be perfectly valid information and perfectly true information. It's all a quest on how much weight to give something in any particular circumstance. And I've seen debates on LinkedIn where someone's talked about an initiative that they've rolled out in a construction company in New Zealand, and someone else has chimed in and said, oh, that whole thing was debunked in the study in 2003. And you look at the study, and it was, a study done amongst midwives in North Carolina at a particular hospital, and there were 9 participants.
Somebody had to go.
And you think, well, how is that relevant to construction in New Zealand?
I can can sense the anger building up. He's got
Wow.
Desa's got a story to tell.
Wow. Do you want to share any more on this, Des? It seems quite personal.
No, that was the extent of the story. Actually, no, it wasn't. It wasn't actually personal. But people take it and run with it, and it's problematic because what 9 midwives think in North Carolina doesn't necessarily pertain to what happens in a construction site in New Zealand.
I think we better move on.
Let it go, Des. Let it go. Let it go,
Des, we think what you do on construction sites in New Zealand is great, mate.
No matter what the midwives say.
I might just wait for you to try things first and follow in your footsteps just in case it goes wrong. But
Thanks.
I think you do a great job, mate. Well done. Well done. Andy, I mean, in your mind, I mean, you often profess to do a bunch of reading and a bunch of research on topics. I mean, how do you, what are you thinking about Des is saying around legitimacy? So it sounds like it's maybe not necessarily the individual that you're looking for to validate the legitimacy. I mean, there's obviously probably more people, there are probably certain people that are more inclined to be in that space. But I mean, are you looking for where it's coming from as opposed to who it's coming from, if that makes sense? Like the particular journal versus the particular author. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I always try and look for specific journals, and usually linked to an establishment, so a university, etc., or a person that I'm familiar with. I've read books by them, that sort of thing. That's how I would do it. I try to read at least 2 academic articles.
Well,
but that's
and again, that would suggest you don't actually do a lot of working for a living, right?
There's a very broad range of things that I'll read because, as I've sort of indicated many times, and I've come to agree with you after all these years, Brenton.
Thank you.
That safety really isn't a thing.
Is this being recorded?
The reality is safety is the application of other disciplines in a safety context. Sorry. So the human factors bit is really psychology. Safety's just jumped on the bandwagon. Ergonomics, biomechanics, that sort of stuff. So it's physics. Everything boils down to physics, really. And so I read lots of articles about management because doing safety in an organisation is really a management challenge. So understanding management and leadership is really important. Those are important skills. So understanding what works and what doesn't is really helpful in that space.
No, great. Sort of sticking.
You get a lot of messages, don't you? Good God!
I'm a busy man.
All the stuff you've been buying.
That's my wife, mate.
She's going hard. Yeah.
She's going hard.
Yeah.
It's just a pity this show doesn't pay, right? It's just sticking with you, Andy, for a minute now, mate. Like, I'm really fascinated on this. So, and Des touched on it a minute ago, and really just kind of keen to get your thoughts. When you're traveling around the countryside and you're professing to, claiming to be working and engaging with your clients, I mean, do you pull out, we need to do this because this academic article said this? So my question really to you, and I'll flick over to Des in a minute, because I think I'm going to probably value his opinion more on this. But what weight do these academic articles hold then? What weight do they hold in your mind? In terms of, I guess we talk often about reasonably practicable and taking all practicable steps. In your mind, what weight do these academic articles add to that approach, to trying to hit the utopia of reasonably practicable?
I don't know if reasonably practical is a good example, but the reason it's just all about enriching the knowledge, building the knowledge base. And if safety is this multidisciplinary subject, then having a bit more knowledge in all of the different disciplines, I think, is incredibly useful. And some of the safety research is broadly linked with that. So the human factors bit, safety too, safety differently. There's all academic-ish articles written about those things. Resilience engineering. These are all subjects that are interesting. Whether they're directly safety or not, I'm not sure. But they all add to the rich tapestry of what safety may or may not be. And as a facilitator of sort of level 6 courses, you need to have this sort of knowledge to engage with your students. And one of the things that I keep thinking is critical thinking is the most important thing. So you read an article and analyze. Don't accept it at face value. Say, okay, this is interesting, but what isn't it saying? What is it saying? Where did this information come from? And actually doing that sort of analytical review of it is really useful, but it's not the solution in itself. Like, you won't read an article and go, oh, that's how we do safety. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Because it can't, because the way that academia works is that it tends to be very narrowly focused, unless you're looking at some sort of meta-analysis, but they're flawed anyway. But it's a very sort of straightforward question that's usually asked and analysed in quite a lot of detail.
Des, I mean, again, like I said, I'm probably going to value your opinion on this a lot more than Andy's. What weight do you think these academic articles hold on any aspect of what we do? I don't want to take you back to get PTSD or anything, but you referred to your nurses in North Carolina. Like legitimately, in your opinion, what weight do these articles, or what weight could these articles hold?
I think they should just inform how you approach a particular thing in your own work. And I'll give an example. Some companies do behavioral-based safety as a regular safety initiative or a regular function of their safety management system. There is an academic paper, I couldn't cite it off the top of my head, but I could find it, that says that they did an analysis of different behavioral-based safety programs and found that they were only effective if they were for a particular purpose and for a short period of time, or a fixed period of time. In other words, not ongoing. And that's the only time anyone achieved any level of success from such an initiative. Now, there's something to take away from that. If you're thinking of doing a similar initiative in your own organization, that's pretty valuable information. Do we need to consider the fact that this needs to be for a fixed term? Do we need to consider the fact that this is for a particular purpose? And how can we say that we've achieved that purpose? So I think it's really valuable information, but no academic's going to know your organization better than you. So there needs to be some sort of filter and critical thought and a critical application of these ideas.
Oh, fantastic! And I guess that we've been that sort of sticks with a trend, I guess, that we've been pushing on the show. And I guess one of the underlying currents for the whole purpose of the show is to help individuals critically analyze all these different concepts, right? And again, I can't believe I'm saying this with him bloody actually sat next to me, which would suggest that Andy's kind of statement about a rich tapestry is probably quite realistic, right? And that's what you're saying, right? So it's not, often we talk about on the show, people will grab a concept and will run with it and will fall on their sword over this particular one way of doing things, whether it's safety 1, safety 2, HOP, the new view, all these different things. But again, I guess academic articles could help us determine the best use of these different tools. I'm going to pose a question, and I'm going to stick with you, Des. Considering that there's no legitimate requirement necessarily to become to write an academic article, considering some of the statements we've already made about the fact that academic articles are incredibly narrowly, they'll be focused on a particular thing or a topic. Those academic articles will be about, really kind of understand a particular topic. In your mind, and I really value your opinion here, really value it. In your mind, is this show an academic article in its own right, just in a different format, right? Just because we're not writing it, would that make us an academic article? I just want to put this out there because I want to state that I've written not written, that I am an academic article. What do you think about that, Des? I'm just asking for a friend.
I think I didn't have to think about this for very long, actually, to come up with this answer.
Just careful before you insult yourself as well here, all right? Just think about this for a minute.
No. Well, I think I'm qualified to speak on this because I've actually had an academic article published, not in safety, in a completely different topic, and I bet you couldn't guess what the topic is.
Midwives in North Carolina.
So no, the answer is a definite no, but it's.
Oh, listen, I've got a bone to pick with this guy. Is that why you're ignoring my friend requests on LinkedIn? Is that what they're called? Friend requests?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So clearly Keith doesn't think we're an academic article. Do you agree with Keith, Des, considering you're an academic article writer about midwives in North Carolina?
I do agree with Keith. I think there's a spectrum of things that are quite well respected and legitimate and things that are not, and we're not on the respected legitimate side. We're on the other side.
Listen, I just want to say, just because you and Andy, no, actually, before I start painting you both the same bloody tarred brush, Andy, your thoughts, mate? I mean,
No, we're not. We're absolutely not. But it does throw up some interesting questions. So, could we, all of the nonsense that we've spoken over the last 2 years, in theory, could we turn that into an academic article? I suggest AI could do that in about half a second. The legitimacy of that would be questionable. But what an academic article could possibly look like would be we could look at something, and this is the narrowness of it. We could look at the impact of people the Circus of Safety has had on listeners in terms of their philosophy related to safety. So, in order to do that with any effect, we'd have had to do a baseline check at the start before they started listening, and then at the end. And have we added any value to them? And I mean, I think absolutely we have. Well, and that's why we've got so many listeners giving us thumbs up right now.
Like I said, on that spectrum of
talking to us at the moment, mate. Yeah, this is awkward.
On that spectrum of legitimate and not legitimate, there's still a not legitimate source can still provide useful information.
Absolutely, because you're applying methodology to a circumstance, right?
So listen, I've been traveling around recently, going to a couple of things, a couple of industry groups and forums, and the number of people that walk in and go, you know what, Brenton, this should be on your wheel. I mean, I probably should write those things down because it would be quite helpful when we're running out of things to talk about next year. But you're getting slandered by Keith. This guy, he's slinging mud this morning, is old Keith.
I don't know what you're talking about. It was perfectly legitimate what I said. What you said was complete turn. But what I said was perfectly legitimate.
But people keep asking me and suggesting we put things on the wheel because I'm gonna put it out there that maybe we are some form of academic article because we are legitimately analysing specific topics in a very narrow field. Look, I think this is what I'm involved.
There's no legitimacy to what we say whatsoever. All that we do is spout our opinions.
But he cites legislation on a regular basis and articles and stuff.
Just because you say the speed limit's 100 kilometres an hour doesn't mean that you've written an academic article.
But he actually tells you where to find that information about the speed limit being 100 kilometres. You know what I mean? Like Des pulls out case law on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's
surely that would bring us something.
That's just legal stuff.
This is why I look after the marketing for the show, and you two just. I don't actually know. I'm still trying to figure out what you two do.
Have you actually ever read an academic article?
No. It's not the point.
I suspected that might have been the challenge here.
That's not the point. It is not the point. Keith is on fire this morning. I don't know whether he's making the statement because right now we've gone off the deep end. We've absolutely lost the plot and any legitimacy to the show.
I think what possibly needs to happen is we possibly need to explore this a little bit more and maybe engage with some academics and maybe see if we can get some on the show and talk about.
Oh my God! So the
subjects
last
that they're
year and a
into.
half of my life has been a waste. I thought the purpose
No,
of this
it's
was
not.
because I was engaging with academics. Clearly, that does not define you two. So,
No, I don't know. I've got no idea where you got that idea
mate,
from.
I've walked into senior leadership meeting and says Desai Link said this, and
That's fine.
I've gone in with sheer legitimacy on that, thinking he was a
They did say it.
academic.
Well, if you're citing my actual article, then you'd be fine. But I very much doubt you're implementing something to do with ancient Irish law. That's
In North Carolina.
that wasn't me.
It should have been. Okay. So sorry, I've just lost the plot here. Okay, so let's just jump in. So I guess maybe an opportunity for a bit of a plug here. Maybe so there's obviously a number of journals out and about in the place. And in New Zealand, I guess we've got a relatively recent journal publication, right? That's putting out academic articles. Des, your thoughts? Is that a source of truth you go looking through?
Yeah, most certainly.
Fantastic. And maybe that's what Andy was talking about. Maybe we need to look to get. Maybe it would be a good opportunity, and maybe for our bonus episode, maybe we could get Chris Peace on to have a chat about academia and safety and its uses, and then maybe finally I can actually talk to an academic.
You wouldn't understand.
A couple of questions. I got two questions that I want to use to wrap up the show with before we go into a summary. So Des, over to you first, mate. You kind of touched on it earlier. Obviously, people citing very specific sentences or very specific clauses or very specific parts of academic articles. I mean, you're concerned. Do you think people are not concerned? But the question to you is, do you feel that obviously academic articles have an opportunity to be weaponized? And I mean, in your example, clearly, I would suggest you're going to say yes.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it just comes from not really understanding what they're reading and how it should be applied. You see it in the way sometimes articles are presented. You know, there might be in the media. I'm talking about the general media. They'll say something like, milk causes cancer, and actually, when you delve into the actual study, it doesn't actually quite say that at all. It just says that within a particular group of people, there was a slight increase in a particular type of cancer when exposed to a particular type of, like, it's so very specific that the title that's been presented, that sensationalist title, just doesn't bear any resemblance to what this study was actually about.
No, and that's, I guess there's always a risk with that too, and anything, like it was interesting. There's a short video floating around the internet at the moment, Des, where you and I question Andy's ethics around selling merch with our brand, and you and I not receiving anything of it. I mean, if people only saw that small clip, they may think that Andy's trying to do us one over, right? But you and I know heart of hearts that that's not what he's trying to do, right? Because again, I still haven't seen any results of this merch sales yet. You remember that last time at the pub, he offered to shout the beers, and then he walked out, and that you left, pick up the bill. Like, that wasn't how that was supposed to roll. I thought that was from merch sales.
Well, that happened a few times. Which one in particular are you talking about?
I don't know. Andy, listen, your thoughts, mate. Academic articles being weaponized.
No, I don't think. I think people interpret them in however they want, but it's often theoretical. People do draw conclusions from them. There's been some very, very, very high profile circumstances where it has been massively misinterpreted. The MMR vaccine research that linked it to autism in children had global impact on rates of measles, mumps, and rubella globally because people stopped getting vaccinated. But when you analyse the data that was used, I think it was 7 cases, which you can't draw any statistical significance from. But again, the tabloid newspapers get hold of it, like Des indicated. MMR vaccine causes problems, therefore people stop getting vaccinated, and we end up in a horrible situation.
I like the way you incorporated the health aspect into the show.
Because it's often forgotten.
Often, but not you, Andy. You're a man of the people.
I try.
Sticking with you, mate. I kind of just to wrap up my last question on this topic. I can't believe I found it so interesting and haven't fallen asleep.
It's cool, isn't it?
The use of AI, right, and the emergence of AI, and it's no secret I'm a massive fan of AI. In fact, all the post-show stuff that we use is done via AI. I'm trialing some other AI software around phone recording calls and meeting minutes and the like. Big fan of AI. What are your thoughts around the introduction of AI and whether it's made or has the opportunity to make academic articles more accessible to people like myself? Like, to be fair, I like your term pracademic, right? I like to take theories and apply them and I'm more of a practical applier of things. Do you think things like AI have the opportunity to make academic articles more accessible to individuals, maybe who are more inclined to operate in a way that I do?
Potentially, but I think that's possibly problematic and might lead you to where Des was talking about.
North Carolina?
Drawing incorrect conclusions. Because when you read one of these articles, the context is incredibly important, and I'm not sure whether AI would necessarily pick that up. I seem to recall that. Did you write an article about the ownership of... Des, didn't you write an article or something? Did I read something that you produced about the legal ownership of AI-produced stuff? Was that something you did?
I was an assignment I did about 15 years ago.
That's right. I read that. Really interesting. That you were so ahead of the game there, Des.
There's.
Have you fed that article?
I need to talk to him.
Have you fed that article into AI, so that your assignment into AI, and got the AI's interpretation of your interpretation of AI?
I haven't. No.
Do it, because it'd be fun.
No, but that's what I'm talking about. I mean, Des, what are your thoughts? Has AI got the opportunity to make things like academic articles more accessible to those less inclined to sit there and pore over it? I mean, so you drag the article up into the AI model, you ask it to summarize it, identifying key trends, themes, and points, and you read the summary effectively. I mean, is that, or better yet, you get it to read it to you?
I think you could get a lot of value out of that, but you'd have to be really careful about what you ask the AI engine, because you could use AI to create a summary to even read out the article, or even I think in some cases you can get it to turn it into a podcast where people are talking about it, which is pretty cool. But I think you need to be equally critical of AI's interpretation. So if you're going to ask AI to digest an article and summarize it, you need to ask AI to highlight some of the weaknesses that the article might have. That might be a good way to see how much weight you can give that article.
Great, some fantastic ideas. And it's just interesting, just on that note, I did a sort of micro experiment. We've just at work here completed an incredibly large project, and we had 4 different debriefs with the 4 different parts of the team, all following the same format, the same theme, and I effectively chucked all that data into an AI model and asked to summarize and pull together all that data into one final summary. The overall feedback from all the individuals that I then pulled that summary together for and sent it out, there were a couple of things that were like, where did that come from, or the way it was placed, or like you spoke about, the context wasn't quite accurate. Some really really interesting stuff there. But just to wrap up, Andy, one last, any words of wisdom, concerns, caution in relation to academia and safety?
Read the articles.
Woo-wee! Great insight there. Des, you?
I think make sure it has a place in your repertoire of information, but just read it with a critical mind and apply it with a critical mind as well.
Fantastic. And my takeaway will be, before you create a podcast with 2 other people who you think are academics, make sure you check their references first. So wrapping up the show there, Now his friend. Hey, thanks, Keith.
Friendship blossoms. Lovely.
This show brings so many communities together. Just kind of wrapping up. Des, mate, what's the next couple of weeks looking like for you?
I'd love to have an answer for you, but I haven't thought that far ahead. It's been a pretty hectic week, and I'm just trying to see myself through the day.
Fantastic. Andy, what about you, mate?
Just work, you know. Safety never sleeps.
Mate, you told me you're taking the whole of December and January off. What are you talking about? Are you charging overtime for the visit you got this afternoon?
I'm looking after my well-being.
Fantastic.
BMX seasons.
Yeah, BMX season's in full swing. Heading to the Tron and Vegas this weekend. It's going to be a big weekend. It's quite exciting. I think we're winding down in terms of the speaking engagements, hey Tim. There's not a lot coming up, which is great. Opportunity for us to actually reflect on our own work and the show, start planning for 2025, and because I know I'm going to have some exciting news leading into 2025. There's a few things I'm working on at the moment, so can't wait to share them. I might even tell you boys about them. That could be quite good. Hey, again, I know people would think we've only got one follower. Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Keith. Means the world to us.
Appreciate your consistent following and your engagement. But I'll tell you what, the numbers are becoming quite staggering. I used to know everybody off by heart on our followers list, and I lost track about 1,482 ago. So really great to see, and thank you very much for joining in, and really hope you're getting value out of this. And again, just can't reiterate. Jump in, try and make some comments on the chat feed after this. Join us on Spotify and the like, which is free. Sorry. Talking about Spotify, I need to send this to you. Groundbreaking. According to our 2024 wrap, our video cast on Spotify, top 10%. Of what I don't know.
What?
Our video cast on Spotify, top 10% of something. How cool is that?
Cool.
Yeah. I'm going to claim top 10% of video casts globally.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Maybe we need to actually, although now I feel a bit of pressure. But anyway, back to our followers. Our latest follower, boys, I want a road trip to this place. This is exciting. A big welcome to the followership of Johan Janssen. I think I've got that right.
That's a Scandinavian name.
No, not far. Netherlands, mate. There we go. Johan Janssen, I'm hoping I get that right, is a health and safety manager. I don't know, I can't even pronounce that part of the Netherlands, but nonetheless, he's the health and safety manager for Neptune Energy transition to ENI. That sounds really important. Really cool out of the Netherlands. Great races on the BMX community from the Netherlands. So thank you, Johan, for tuning in. Greatly appreciated. We better wrap this up. Andy's got to pop over the ditch. Well, not the ditch. What do you call it? The Great Divide.
The inlet.
The inlet. There we go. Thank you. Andy's got to pop over the inlet for a work-related meeting. So, mate, been an absolute blast. Thank you for your time, and have a great weekend, Des.
Same to you guys. See ya.
Catch ya.
Good luck.